So, hello everyone. Hello, love lovers. So, there's this story regarding Prince Harry and him stepping down from his own company or organization, rather, because it's a non-profit organization that he co-founded with one of the princes or royal people in Lesotho, right? So the organization is Santebele, organization which had the goal to help, the youth in Lesotho, heal from HIV or be informed, about HIV and AIDS, right? That was the objective, the goal of his organization. It was also to, keep the efforts of his mother, Queen Diana, and towards helping people relating to the subject of HIV and AIDS, right? And now he stepped down because the chairperson who volunteered to be the chairperson of his organization, Santebele, her name is Sophie Chandauka, right? She was born in Zimbabwe. And she's a corporate lawyer, I think. Now, what Sophie Chandauka is alleging, right, is that Prince Harry has been bullying, people, her and other people, has been, harassing her and other people, like just a lot of stuff, right? I let you hear her words, right?
I obviously have to put this to both of you.
Yeah.
What you're essentially saying is that the Duke of Sussex is guilty of harassment and bullying and improper conduct in the governance of a charity.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I'm going to give you a really good example. The only reason I'm here, Trevor, is because at some point on Tuesday, Prince Harry authorized the release of a damaging piece of news to the outside world without informing me, or my country directors, or my executive director. And can you imagine what that attack has done for me, on me, and the 540 individuals in the Centre Valley organizations and their family? That is an example of harassment and bullying at scale. And so if the world didn't want to believe that there's such a thing as bullying, this unleashing of the Sussex machine on me and the 540 employees at Centre Valley who received this and have had to defend it.
By the way, when you say the Sussex machine, what are you talking about?
The PR machine that supports Prince Harry's efforts. The only way we discovered of his decision was through the Sussex machine activating newspapers.
What's also evident is that, there will be some information that is going to hurt her when that is going to come out, of course, when Mercury goes forward again. So, around, the month of May, June, there could be like some hurtful things, towards herself and her own efforts at this time, because her Chiron will be activated. So, and it's going to be sudden and it's going to be explosive, So, now she's going around, feeling comfortable with what she's saying, but her words will, will come to haunt her very soon when her Chiron gets activated. So it's quite dangerous. I wish she could be like quite a bit safe in her words and in what she says, right? Because it's an Aries energy and it's going to be very, very explosive, right? So, of course, we do know that, there has been a drift, between Prince Harry and his family and the royal people and the UK people and the media and so on and so forth, right? And now, with this coming in, so Sophie Chandauka joins, those people who are against Prince Harry, right? So, of course, that, made me curious a bit, like, how is her chart, when it comes to relating to him. So I wanted to see what type of a role is she playing, in his life. Obviously, we're looking at it from a Synastry point of view, and of course, everything is alleged. I'm just translating the language of, the planets and what the planets are saying and stability saying and stating, regarding these people, right? So the very first thing that we must remember when we are looking at a relationship, it is also that the same people that we relate to can be our biggest enemies in the future. So therefore, that means that the seventh house is not only about the relationship itself and its positivity, it is also a house of our best enemies that are known to us, and enemies that we often choose by our own accord, right? We go out into the public, into other people, because seventh house is about other people. And when we arrive, we choose this person as somebody that we want to work with, if it's from a business point of a relationship, or we choose a person that we want to form a relationship of a love with, right? But then we choose these types of relationships, and therefore we choose these types of enemies that are coming from the seventh house. So that means that the seventh house is the first house that represents your enemies in this life, and these enemies, you will choose them and bring them to you into your life by yourself. No one is going to force you, right? And most of the time, right? Obviously, if there's no malefics, because as I said, there could also be forced or arranged marriages. And of course, in this case, from the get-go, you do know that you are entering into an enemy zone, because you don't want to be married, but you're being forced, so obviously that becomes an enemy from the get-go in that instant, right? So Sophie working with Prince Harry, they're not just working together right now. According to the Googler, she joined the Sentebele organization since 2009. So she's, familiar with them, and they are familiar with her. She started as a board member from 2009 until 2015, and thereafter she became a volunteer in terms of a chairperson, according to the Googler, right? So in July 2023, and we must remember that at this point, this is the height of the pressure on Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, right? So Prince Harry is a Sagittarius ascendant. I am using sidereal, which is going to be different, regarding the normal stuff or the normal topical astrology. So that's what I wanted to explain, because I do always get people saying, oh my God, it's not the same. He's not a Leo sun, and then, he's a Virgo sun. And then I have to explain that actually, no, from me, it's a sidereal. So therefore, he's a Leo sun. And as I said, the seventh house is the first house of where you see your enemies, and your enemies will just come and work against you directly, but you invited them into your life. Or where there's malefics, they were invited into your life and you had no choice but to accept them, right? But we also do have two more houses of enemies, and the other one is the 12th house, whereby you don't even know who your enemies are, or you don't even know that these people are actually your enemies, right? And sometimes you could also be your own enemy when it comes to the 12th house. And then when it comes to the 6th house, here these people are really like your enemies that you can't control. They are enemies that are just placed in your way as by the universe, as obstacles, as challenges, so these are the enemies that you could be getting out of your house and somebody hits your car or something like that. And of course, when it comes to the 8th house, these would be events coming from the enemies, coming from the actions of these enemies from the 12th, 6th, and the 7th house. All right. So that's the explanation, a quick explanation. I do see then that Sophie is placing her Jupiter, Lilith, Moon, and Mars in the 7th house of Prince Harry. And the bad news is that her Jupiter, Lilith, Mars are retrograde, because normally Jupiter is good for a Sagittarius ascendant, because this is ruled and owned by Jupiter. But however, her Jupiter is a retrograde, meaning that it's not giving, the positive direct aspect to his ascendant, because it's facing the house of enemies, the 6th house. At the same time, it's also facing his work, right? His day-to-day activities. On top of this is coming with Lilith, which is also retrograde, Mars, which is also retrograde, just amping up the capacity and the capability of being anemic to him, of being the highest enemy to him, because the Jupiter is coming as a familiar energy, since it's it's ruled by itself. So it would give him that comfortability around her. However, because of hidden motives which are based on the retrogression, then all these things come up. At some point he would have felt like he could trust her, because she's got her moon as well here. However, as I've always said, when there's moon in any of the Mercury placements, there will be a huge blame. And we can see now Sophie is blaming hugely in a public manner, blaming Prince Harry of bullying, so violence basically, because bullying is violence. So Sophie Chandauka is alleging that Prince Harry is a violent person, right? And because it's coming with the Lilith has a tainted motive. Wherever you see Lilith, there will be a tainted motive. And because here it is a retrograde, it is no longer a hidden or suppressed motive. It will just be out in the open, as she's going about. She's not afraid to go on Sky News or whatever news and say, Prince Harry is a violent man. Prince Harry, is not a good man. The organization that he started is not a good organization. It brings problems and all of these things, right? By the way, she also wants to change the motive and the aims of the organization itself. She stated on the same interview that she wants to change it into focusing on climate change, and other things. So therefore, she wants to change like the literal foundation of the organization and form a new organization in terms of purpose, right? And of course, which is going against the aims and the purpose of Prince Harry and the Princess Seiso, I think, right, from Lesotho. So definitely by that Mars year in his 7th house, problems, huge problems, and it's retrograde. Now, these retrograde planets are actually facing his Chiron, and anytime you see Chiron, there's wounding, activating the wounding according to his sixth house of work, sixth house of daily activities, and health. So these are all activated at this time, and not in a good way because of that Mars, and the moon is busy, giving those blaming games, that Prince Harry is not a good person. On top of that, it is motivated by the Lilith as well. On top of this, we have her Chiron conjunct with, his moon in the fifth house of creative projects. And as we know, of course, this is like a baby too. Prince Harry is his organization that he created. It's his creation, right? And she brings in the Chiron, the wounding, and of course he's wounded right now, to the point that he has to leave his own organization, right? And I do see that, she also brings in her Uranus, and she attaches that with his Saturn and Pluto in the 11th house organization again, bringing in change, bringing in a rebellion in the organization through that Uranus. Very, very dangerous thing here. And on top of this, of course, she brings in her Saturn in his 9th house. Now the 9th house is about the teachings of the father, and with him it is with Sun that represents the father as well. Meaning that with this Saturn, which is also retrograde, by the way, remember when Saturn is retrograde, is going to take shortcuts, is going to act, not in a just way, is going to act unjustly, is going to do all the mischievous things. And coming in here in this 9th house, conjunct with Sun, she would act as if she was working, for his father, or she was working, towards, helping Harry's father, but doing these mischievous things, all these things, because the Sun and Saturn together, there is going to be a feeling of rejection, a feeling of, you don't belong here, you're not supposed to be here, and all of these things, all right? So the sabotage that comes through the retrogradation, suddenly as well, because it's facing the 8th house of sudden things and transformations, right? It is directly linked to father, directly linked to the father at this time, right? So what I do see though is that she also places her Pluto on his 10th house, which is every time I see Pluto, of course, depending on the aspects and on the ascendant such as his right now, because Pluto in Virgo is not feeling comfortable. So definitely an embarrassment, which we see now, in terms of Prince Harry's public image, Prince Harry's profession. She's bringing all of that with a Rahu, which is amplified, right? So very dangerous. And of course, she's bringing in Ketu in his 4th house, which is a separation, from your home people or your homeland or even mother. And we do know that the organization was made, Prince Harry made it, as an effort to remember his mother's legacy, and she brings Ketu separation, right, from that legacy, which is unfortunate, right? However, I do see that from her point, she is soon going to separate with her job, maybe her current position, because of the progression of her Ketu, but at the same time she's got this Saturn coming in now through transits, the Ketu through transits, which are aspecting her Saturn, which is work and profession, very, very closely. So I would say by December 2026 she would have lost her job, or she would have changed jobs altogether. She would have left this position, that's for sure. She is going to leave this position around or before December 2026, but by December 2026 Sophie is indicated by the planets highly that she would have left this position. She would have been out of this role, right? And I also do see that, you know, she's got a high activation of Mars right now, which is conjunct with his vertex. And as I said, vertex is that point that changes your life altogether for, you know, the rest of your life. Like once that vertex is activated, something in your life will change for good. And of course we see that now he's left his organization that he started, you know, because of this feud with Sophie, and Sophie placed her progressing Mars right on that vertex. You know, Mars is fight, Mars is trouble, Mars is, you know, just battles basically, and that got activated as well, right? I do see that, you know, Prince Harry has got his progressing Ketu over his 10th house right now, and Ketu in the 10th house will bring at least one scandal in your life regarding profession, your public image, and that is also confirmed by, you know, her Pluto there, definitely. And with the transiting Ketu now that is going to go into his 9th house, there will be a loss, you know, maybe connection to father, or loss, you know, altogether of father, you know, something, but which is something I also saw already, you know, regarding his progressions with Meghan Markle that I did. I will, you know, attach that video down below, you know, just to show. But, you know, it's highly indicated again by the transiting Ketu, because the transiting Ketu will be in Leo, and for him Leo is that sun again in the 9th house. And of course the 9th house is all about the teachings of the father and the leadership of the father. And, you know, there would be a huge, you know, news regarding the father right around June. I would say around June this year. Around June this year, there will be news coming in, definitely, regarding the father. Maybe the father does not feel well, or the father, you know, is, you know, wanting to cut ties altogether with Harry. But, you know, there will be like a loss felt in the sense of the father, you know, so maybe ties are cut or something like that. Because I also have his certain, you know, opposite, you know, this woman's Chiron, you know. So, you know, when it comes to Chiron is wounding. We can see that, you know, she placed a wound in his profession now, because career's work is what we do, is our dharma, and that is obviously there as well. So yeah, like she's had all these aspects, you know, to present herself as an enemy to him, and of course is playing out right now. And if you want to know who is your enemy, and if your lover can turn into your biggest enemy, contact me and I will tell you. A bientôt, ciao.